Legal Eagles. Okay.
Okay, I think it's my cue. Pursuant to recently adopted amendments to the Illinois Open Meetings Act, included in Public Act 101-0640, public bodies may, in certain circumstances, hold entirely virtual public meetings without a quorum physically present in any one location. Governor Pritzker's executive order of 2022-01 has extended this provision through today's date. As co-chair of the Council for Inclusion and Community, I have made the determination that it is not practical nor prudent to meet in person at this time. Accordingly, this meeting on the Council for Inclusion and Community is being conducted virtually with members participating through the Zoom webinar platform. Assistant Village Manager Sharon Tanner is in the Village Conference Room as required by the Open Meetings Act. Current time, I would like to call the meeting to order. May I please have a roll call?
Okay. Excuse me. Chairperson Guzman.
Here.
Chairperson Scott.
Here.
Member Bjork, he just sent me a note. He's on his way in, so he's not here yet. Member Evans.
Here, and I'm on. Sorry.
Oh, there you are, John. Thanks.
Hi.
Here.
Okay. Member Flanagan.
Here.
Member Reverend Curtius Kirk is not going to be able to join us this evening. Member Molly. No feedback. Okay. Member Moses.
Here.
Member Mizell.
Here.
Member Robbins.
Here.
Member Rubin.
Here.
Member Young.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. First item on the agenda is consideration of the meeting minutes from our last get together in, I'm forgetting the month, in April. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Sharon, can you call the roll for, or do we need to do a roll call for that one as well?
Sorry about that, was muted. Yes, we'll do a roll call. Co-chair Guzman.
Yes.
Co-chair Scott.
Yes.
Member Bjork.
Yes.
Member Evans.
Yes.
Member Flanagan. Margot, you might be on mute.
Sorry, yes.
No worries. Let's see. Member Moses.
Yep.
Member Mizell.
Yes.
Member Robbins.
Yes.
Member Rubin.
Yes.
Member Young.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have public comment. And as I'm saying this, I feel like there's something I'm supposed to say that I don't have in front of me about the allotted time. Is it 2 minutes?
It is 3 minutes or 400 words. Let me check our email to see if any comments were submitted in advance by email. And while I'm doing that, let me take a quick look. One moment. Let me see if there are any comments here. I don't think we have anyone signed in, but we'll take a quick look. But we do have one member of the public signed in, but I don't see anyone raising their hand from the public to make a comment. Sorry, I am just checking the email quickly. I have a temporary computer, so my settings are not installed, and I apologize for the delay on that. Okay. It's taking a moment for me to get into our email. So if you'd like, we can move on and I can confirm toward the end of the meeting if there were any comments.
I think that's fine, Sharon. And I was going to just take a moment during public comment to address something not on the agenda, which is, as all of you should have received from Sharon, unfortunately, last week there was this incident of anti-Semitic flyering on the North Shore and in Glencoe in particular. And you have seen, hopefully, subsequently, the village's response. In particular, President Rowan made a statement to the news media. It was sort of strange timing in that we had already, the village, I think like the same week or in very almost synced up in timing, had already made a proclamation about anti-Semitism or our intolerance for anti-Semitism in the village of Glencoe. So I'm not sure that there is anything further we need to do as a council to respond, but I did think it was worth mentioning, and also just highlighting something that member Rubin had sent to us from the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. I think it's incumbent upon us as a forum to follow sort of their lead as far as a response. They said, as we process this latest incident in our own community, we should act first with reason and second with conviction to, number one, speak out against this hate. Number two, share facts and respond to hateful misinformation and lies. And three, show strength together as a community in the face of anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. Makes me very happy to be here tonight doing the work that we do. I don't know that we need to belabor the point, but also just wanted to give everyone an opportunity if they had any questions or if there was anything about the village's response you wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to commend the village for its response. It was prompt and I thought on target. I'm just curious, what kind of response, Sharon, has the village received from residents? Email, texts, whatever.
I don't know that I can answer that, Bob. I've not heard any feedback firsthand, but I don't want to speak on behalf of anyone else.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be really curious to find out what the response was. Because again, I think the village did everything it could to get the word out. It was in the local paper. But as we all know, people don't read any of that. But I'd love to see some numbers. Thank you.
What kind of numbers, Bob?
Numbers about how many emails or texts did the village get? Were members of the village board texted or receive emails regarding this?
From citizens, from people, from constituents.
Yes, from members of the village. I mean, these kinds of things have happened before in Glencoe. This is not a rarity. And I'm just curious if people are attuned to that.
We could do sort of a straw poll here. I was out of town, so the first thing I heard about it was from the village in the context of chairing this committee. I didn't have boots on the ground. So I feel like maybe if I had been in the community in the days after this had happened, I might have had a better read. Is there anyone else in the mix here tonight who had heard of this or had heard anything about the response outside of your contact with Sharon and the GCIC?
It didn't.
So we can, Bob, take it back. Sharon and I can take it back to Phil and see if we can get a more substantive answer regarding the broader constituency. But to your point, it sounds like most of the folks here weren't aware, beyond our involvement here.
Yeah, and
I
I want to make clear, I think the village did an excellent job. I think the village and we on this committee are facing a very difficult battle in getting the word across. In people who I met since the incident took place and I talked with, no one knew about it. And I'm also talking about fellow Jews. No one knew.
I will take that as a follow-up to, and I can send you all an email if there were any comments that we received. There was a note about this in e-news last Friday with President Rowan's response. And so that may have mitigated comments that we might have received because that statement was issued in a very timely manner. So that may have been some proactive communication, Bob. But certainly if there were any, I will let this group know.
And again, this is not a criticism. I'm just trying to get my arms around this. How many of you read online, for instance, the Chicago Tribune's Glencoe paper every day, or some other source of news about Glencoe?
Most days.
Most good? Anyone else?
I don't.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we all know that across the country, the local press has collapsed. And people just don't seem to be interested in local news. But I would urge you, if you don't read the local news, to perhaps turn over a new leaf and read the local news, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
I did get back into our public comment email and I see that there is one public comment. So shall I read that now?
Please do.
Okay. The comment is from Linda Illis, organization St. Elizabeth Church LGBTQ committee, subject Pride Month comment/question. At a past meeting of either your group or the village board, I don't recall which, someone asked about the possibility of having pride flags put up on a few of the street poles. Was this ever followed up on? Thank you. That is the end of Linda's comment. That is an agenda item for this evening. So Linda, very timely.
So timely. I love to be able to say that's up for discussion tonight. To that end, next on our agenda are updates on council activities and initiatives. First up, we were going to have John talk about the speaker series. Do you think, in the interest of responding sort of to Linda's comment, do you mind if we scramble things around and address Pride Month first? Does that make sense? John, do you mind if we address Pride Month first? And that also will get us to getting to know the heart of Glencoe, because that's part of it.
No, that's totally fine by me.
Thank you. We've received more than one inquiry about how we are planning to commemorate Pride Month in Glencoe. And it was, as I said, really exciting to feel as though that conversation is already well underway. We had sort of the beginnings of that conversation together, all of us, last month at our meeting. But since then, we've had a couple of different things go on. And the short answer is that I think we need to form a committee to take action on some of the things that we know we'd like to do. Along with Linda's suggestion about the pride flags or banners, we also had another suggestion that we do like a streetscape. I'm not going to characterize this correctly. It was beautifully written,
Can
but
take that.
the idea was to paint rainbow flags in the crosswalks, which, like, on the face of it sounds beautiful and lovely, but is in fact just not possible from a cost wise for us. And so in response to that, we started to talk about, well, what would the village, what would we be allowed to do? What would be a responsible use of our budget, et cetera? And Phil and Sharon very generously suggested that the village would be pleased to put up banners, pride banners, in honor of Pride Month. That is happening. That can happen, but we're going to need some folks to sort of spearhead that effort. I'm happy to be a part of it, but I'd like a little support around that. We do not yet have a GCIC logo, and we'll let our comms folks speak to that a little further down in the agenda, but it's in process and moving very quickly, but probably not quickly enough to get it on our Pride banners in time for next month. I'm not sure that our logo really needs to be on Pride banners, but I think somebody needs to sort of take charge of what that should look like. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, if I could jump in on that.
Please.
As far as so there's a few pieces, one of which is banners, and we'll talk about a couple other things that we mentioned briefly last meeting, getting to know the heart of Glencoe being one, doing some research for a village board proclamation being another, and then some sort of presence of the council. So on banners, I can speak to that. We are working on a few different design options that I will circulate to this group by email. Sammy Hansel, our communications manager, has been hard at work at that and is putting the finishing touches on a few drafts. Ideally, what we'd like to do is have a few different designs. We like to add a little bit of variety to our light pole banners. You may have noticed that. So we'd probably have a few different design options that we would move forward with. We would like to have at least some of them identify the Council for Inclusion and Community. It's a great opportunity to raise awareness of this group. Some may be just more less text focused and more visual focused. So I will send that to you all after this meeting. Sammy is hoping to wrap that up within the next day or so. And then what would be helpful is if the subcommittee, or frankly, the full group working on this, if you all could give me high level feedback on the design, not necessarily, well, I like this font better than that font, or make this a little bit bigger or that a little bit smaller, but high level, yes, I like these designs, or no, I think they're not they're not something that we would want our name on. If you could give me that type of high level feedback, we will need to get your feedback in short order. I'll let you know the deadline by which I'll need feedback, but it'll probably be within a week or two after I send you the designs so that we can get them off to a printer and have them fabricated and then installed, because our goal would be to have them installed on or around June 1st and remain up for the month of June. So that's something that we'll need to move quickly on. We do need a couple of weeks for them to be fabricated and then for our Public Works Department to hang them.
Hillary, I'm happy to help you. In terms of the logo, you're talking about like a logo for our group, or?
Yeah, Anise, I'm sorry. So this was, we talked about this last month. There's a group spearheaded by Emily Robbins, but very ably assisted by Amy, who's really quarterbacking the actual graphic identity piece. There's been so much conversation around like visibility and needing to be better recognized. And in short order, we need something to say who we are in some kind of visual identity, so that we can have it on t-shirts if we march in the parade, or so if the timing were different, maybe to put on our, some of the Pride banners, or to put on little tchotchkes that we're gonna throw to kids from the parade, or, there's a whole host of things that we could do with it, including, some social media stuff, etc. I think the sustainability task force has done a really good job with it. I don't know that that's helped anyone know who they are any more than they know who we are, but certainly to the extent that we're going to spend a lot of time trying to get our name out in the community, it would be useful to have some kind of visual identity associated with us. And so we have a group working on that. So if, for example, we were to do window clings, as you suggested, we would then have a GCIC sort of logo that could accompany that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess my question is, in the interim, because it seems like that'll take a little bit longer than how long it'll take to put out the Pride banner flags. The logo ideas or whatever. I don't even know if they were logo ideas for our group. I think it was just more like a community thing that Sharon had sent that I don't know that new people received it, but like that was sent out a while ago that said like Glencoe, you are here, you are welcome, that kind of thing. Is it possible that that flies below the pride flag if we can agree on something like that? No?
No, only in the sense that we're gonna agree on an identity, hopefully in our June meeting. So
No, I
it's-
understand. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So I think to put out a different identity and then immediately replace it with another identity, just communications wise, doesn't seem like a good idea, but I'm willing to be overruled.
No, I wasn't saying that it would replace our logo or something, but like Glencoe is just, we're a village. So like it's saying like Glencoe, you are here, you are welcome. Like that's just like in general, that's like an in general kind of thing. So that's just what I was talking about, not in terms of like our specific logo.
Amy, you want to jump in here? We are working with those identities. That's what the comms group started with. And I think there's a whole, it all kind of goes together.
Yeah, no, I guess my question, yes, we're working on that. I think that sounds like Sammy might have some ideas and we'll get that meeting going quickly and get that for people to weigh in on. It will miss the deadline for the banner. The question is, what do we picture being on the banner? Because yeah, I think to Anissa's point, it could say something very general like, you know, you belong here, or all are welcome, or, you know, could be anything like that, that doesn't get in the way of us having a, you know, a more of a permanent logo identity. I mean, it's just so general that so I assume you were picture that the banners that we're talking about would have something on them, right? I mean, it's got to say something or it wouldn't have, you know,
Yeah.
wouldn't cover the point, right?
Yeah, Sammy and I have connected on a couple of drafts. Again, she's still finalizing them, so I didn't want to share an unfinished draft with you. She's working on themes that are banners that incorporate certainly pride flags. And also, like I mentioned, we have a few different options and banners some designs that have the name Glencoe Council for Inclusion and Community along with that. And then some that have themes of welcome, inclusion, things like that.
Right.
So very much along the lines of what we've been talking about. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on that this evening. If possible, I want to be mindful of our time. And also it'll be easier for you to see it once I send it to you by email than for me to try to describe it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Does that answer your question, Anis? Yep. Okay, so we were talking about Pride Month, banners, the proclamation, which I think largely falls to the village board, but it would be useful for this group to maybe provide some history on, you know, do a little research. Surely there are other proclamations in other villages throughout the United States on this subject that we could maybe do a little bit of a you know, inventory of, and then make suggestions to the village board regarding the proclamation. So that's a component. So we have that in the banners. As Anis knows, we've been talking about trying to do a getting to know the heart of Glencoe piece that in some way, you know, comes together, has the same through line as far as pride. Anis, we can talk about that now or offline. I have been in touch with Glencoe Public Schools, and in short, there are not a lot of local youth options. I think the best, like the closest thing we would have to anything in that vein is family service. So we were trying to think, could we interview someone who does this work in the community? My Glencoe Public School research was sort of not a dead end, but it wasn't as fertile ground as I guess I would have thought. Emily?
So we have friends in Glencoe who, it's 2 women and they're raising 2 young kids here. And I was talking to them about the council and also, that we're trying to get things rolling for Pride Month and kind of get involved. And they were like, oh, we'd be happy to do something. So I know typically the Heart of Glencoe is about, focusing on Glencoe residents. So I don't know if that would be something you'd be
And they are
interested in.
They are Glencoe residents.
They are Glencoe residents, and they said we've had like such a great welcoming experience here. We'd be more than happy to like talk about our family and why we picked Glencoe and how we feel as part of the community here.
So I think we might want to take that conversation offline,
Okay.
because yes, absolutely, that's a good option. Anise and I had a similar conversation. I think there were potentially some concerns around highlighting individuals in that context, but let's just maybe talk about it and come to some. It's proven a little bit trickier than I think I thought at the onset. So.
Did Hillary, did you talk to William at
Youth services, yeah.
yeah, youth services?
No, I talked to Heather Olson at Central School, and I can tell you what she said. She basically said, unfortunately, there's basically one club within Central School, and there's a faculty sponsor, but there's not, the supports come through the district in the way of social work or any of the other, there's not a specific effort targeted at coordinating LGBTQ youth, but William, I think, would be a great resource. Maybe he has a different answer.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to him.
That would be great.
Okay.
Hillary, if I could backtrack just very briefly on the proclamation, I think what we'd be looking for is maybe 1 or 2 volunteers to do a little bit of research. The village board made a proclamation last June for Pride Month, and so it could be building on that. We don't have to reinvent the wheel completely, but if there are other elements, excuse me, or facts that would be noteworthy to add, we can certainly do that. That's a time, I'll share, that's a time crunch project for anyone who might be interested. We would need that turned around really in about a week's time from today, since the board would take up the proclamation in May at their May 19th board meeting in advance of the beginning of Pride Month in June. So timing wise, that would be at about a week's time turnaround. So if you're in a time crunch over the next week, that might not be the project to volunteer for.
I'm happy to help with that.
Okay. Sakura, I'll send you what we did last year as a starting point.
Okay, I don't want to leave Sakura on her own. I also know sometimes it's easier to work on your own. So I'm kind of looking to you, Sakura. Would you like me to drum up a partner, or would you prefer to kind of go at it on your own given the short timeline? And
I'm fine with whatever. I'm happy to work alone. I also acknowledge that there's probably much smarter people here who might have great ideas. So whatever works.
I can help out and then just take credit. So.
Awesome. More of that, please.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got Raphael and Sakura working on the proclamation. It sounds like, Emily, I'm sort of taking a little bit of license with your suggestion and saying that you and I and Anise can do whatever Anise needs us to do to support her for getting to know the Heart of Glencoe. So there's that piece. We had also discussed this sort of moment, for lack of a better term. Brooke Lawler had come to the village and then had a subsequent conversation with me. As you likely know, in previous Pride months, she does a beautiful balloon display at her store, and she was just sort of saying, wouldn't it be nice if we could do more in the village? And obviously well-timed, because these conversations are, you know, very much underway, but we're also mindful sort of from the staffing perspective that we have to walk before we run. So for this year, it's feeling as though the banners, the proclamation, the getting to know the heart of Glencoe, and then possibly one other little, and again, I'll use quotes, moment, are workable, are achievable in the next month's time. And with an eye towards maybe down the line having something larger like a parade or a festival or a, you can use your imagination. There's certainly a lot of opportunity to do more, but what we want to do is do what we can do well in this sort of short turnaround. So we had talked about maybe just having like a Glencoe Council of Inclusion and Community table to time with the with Brooke's balloons, whatever she does them, and then handing out popsicles with our name on it, or just anything that just brings a little bit of joy and levity and lends our support and our name to her display, or coordinates with the, I don't know, I guess we can't like unfurl the banners all at once, but anyway, I think you guys understand what I'm getting at. Does anyone want to weigh in?
I guess my question is, when she is going to unveil the balloons, is it going to be on June 1st? Do we have a timeline as to when?
We'd have to ask her. I think it's more, does the council have an appetite for some kind of moment? And if so, then we can go back to Brooke, see how that looks, and then how that would work. Like, for example, if it rained or whatever, that kind of stuff.
I think if we have the table near her business or at the corner with the banners that the village are going to hang up as well as an announcement of who we are. To Bob's point, it gives us the visual exposure that we're talking about, and would also recognize her business as doing what it's doing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind. I can be polite, and I can say hi to people, and I can talk to them about what we do, or so if someone wants to come with us or come with me and hang out, pass out whatever. I can popsicles, bread. I have no idea what kind of carbohydrates everyone has a life.
Could we, I don't know if this is like doable or not, or if this is not a thing, but I mean, we could probably very quickly order like rainbow rubber bracelets. Like those are things that the kids like to wear, and pass those out and just say who we are.
Yeah, we've worked with vendors for things like that in the past. So if that's something that the group wants to do, that's generally not too long of a turnaround time for vendors to produce those. Although that was pre-supply chain issues, so who knows? But I think it would be timely.
Well,
Good
and rainbow
question, if we did that, Sharon, can we put our name on that rainbow bracelet? Like, can we
Yep.
have that on it?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how
they
people
kinda
feel about
etch it
that.
in there.
Not gonna fit.
They kind of inscribe it in there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm not as keen on our committee name, our council name, as if we did have something, that was part of our logo, or that was part of our "you're welcome here," or, something like that. Cause I don't think people would wear it as much if it's like our brand versus the concept of maybe Glencoe, but the timing doesn't work, but we should think about that. Also, June 1st is a Wednesday. School is still on, I believe, right? So is that the practical day to do it, or what might it be, the first Saturday or something, like the 4th in the month, or?
Totally up for discussion. I
Yeah.
think if it were to directly coincide with the timing of Brooke's display, obviously we'd have to get the information on that, but otherwise I think it's totally up to us.
And I think Brooke usually leaves her display up. Some of the balloons get replenished. She was sharing that sometimes the heat, if it's really hot, that can damage some of them. But she typically has it up for the month. So I think really anytime during the month could be timely. So really it's up to the group whether, what time frame you think would make sense. Other things that are going on in June, farmers market is going to start. That's going to be Thursday afternoons from I think 2 until 6, but don't quote me on those hours. So Thursday afternoon, early evening, that'll be going on. So there's opportunities too for this group to have a table at the farmers market, not only in June for Pride, but just generally. So that could be an option. You may choose one of those Thursdays and have the table at the farmers market.
Mhm.
We can work that out. We don't have to land on the finer points of it tonight.
Is the, sorry.
Okay, Margot's been waiting to talk, so.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Yeah, you guys kind of answered the questions because I kept wondering when we would put this table up and hand out our popsicles or wristbands. And I thought that the response to our table at the farmer's market last year was pretty good. I mean, it feels slow sometimes, but I think it's worth it for us to be there. And if during the month of June, when we are there, we handed out the rainbow colored bands and we could be like, this month we're celebrating this community, and then in July we could maybe have a different theme for our farmers market table, and then in August again. And I'm always a big fan of having the inclusion pledge available for people to sign there, but I think it does bring attention. And I know that we're not locking in on a logo, but I think it would be so cute if we had the Glencoe logo but with rainbow colors on it, just for a temporary thing on our little bands, because that would sort of show Glencoe is supporting the cause. But I think the farmers market is the best place for us to do it, because then we would have consistency, we would have a spot, and we would have recognition. And I think a lot of people, if we could get closer to the sidewalk, it would be better. But
it's actually going to be a different location, Margot, the farmers market. It's going to be, you guys are getting all the sneak preview information. Isn't this cool? It's going to be on Village Court, basically adjacent to Village Hall.
So in the street?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
But where it once was, is that one of those? Is that what you mean? Around the corner from DJ? I mean, Grand Foods?
I don't know. That might be Amy.
Oh, I don't mean long ago. I meant
before Sharon's time, but
Yeah,
yes, that's where it used to be.
In the
Yeah.
street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is perfect, because then we
Yeah.
get people more than just the people that are going to farmers market. We get people going to DJ, we get people going to the parking lot, we get people going to the post office, and they'll
Yeah.
see them again. But that might be an idea, because just having in my experience, you go to bed one night and you wake up and drive through Glencoe and there the balloons are. There's not like a big ribbon cutting balloon ceremony, or there hasn't been in the past that I've known of.
One idea for something to piggyback off of the balloons, a lot of people take pictures in front of them. So I don't know if we could do some sort of cardboard, those little like cardboard cutouts that they put up different places, and it'll have like a hashtag on it, and you can take your picture with the balloons in the background. So assuming that we've agreed on a hashtag, we could sort of use that as a good opportunity to kind of get some good photo ops, have a little bit more presence on social media. And I think people would probably have fun with it. And it could just be like, depending on when Brooke does kind of put up the balloons, it could just be like the first weekend. I don't know if that's something we could, I assume we could get something like that done pretty quickly, right?
I sat with Margot in front of the Village Hall last year, and the traffic was very, very light. I would suggest that perhaps in addition to the new location, we consider setting up a table at the corner of Vernon and Park Avenue, where there's a hell of a lot more traffic. We basically, as I recall, sat there for the most part. I remember having one significant conversation that I shared with you. It was a woman, a grandmother here in Glencoe, who had a trans son at the high school. and was concerned about the treatment that he was receiving. I mean, outside of that, we basically were talking to each other. So I would add another, I'd add another location.
Getting back to the cutout idea before we lose that, I think it's a great idea.
Those are easy enough for us to do. And timing wise too, those are pretty quick for the printers that we work with to turn around. So if that's something that you do after a logo is finalized, that's easy enough for us to get the logo on and a hashtag. And the nice thing is those, we usually have, when we've had them made in the past, we've used like Coroplast, so they're kind of durable. So they can be reused at different things. So you could have like a selfie station kit that you make and kind of we take to other events too, not just this. So yeah, that's a great suggestion, Emily, and that's really easy for us to do.
Great.
Okay.
And like, so then what committee or how do we deal with like a hashtag or things like that? I don't know any of that stuff or.
So we
How
talked
does
about
that-
that a little last month.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry I missed the meeting.
No, that we
Like,
were
give
kind
us
of playing
skip
around. We kind of played around with say hello Glencoe as the hashtag, which when I Google searched came up with nothing. So that's good news for us because it's unique. And I think we're sort of talking about that still on the comms team, and I'm sure I'm sure Sammy will have input, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Could I just ask, are we having, is it Memorial Day? Will there be a parade? Is that something we should be thinking about, given that there's just 2-3 days before, quote, the launch, maybe because you'll have attention from people, so.
There's not a parade for Memorial Day. Our
Okay.
parade is only for the 4th of July.
Oh,
There used to
okay.
be, but that has
Yeah.
been kind of phased out.
Okay, sorry.
It sounds like there's some good ideas, and there's nothing to say that if you do a table one week, you couldn't do a table another week too. So if you have a lot of these extra bands or giveaway items, or you just had a lot of traction and you want to get out there again, there's nothing to say that you can't go out there again or try a different location. So again, these are some of the details that we don't have to land tonight, but really good discussion.
Well, and also just jumping in to that end, Emily's suggestion around I don't know why I'm thinking of it as a filter. It's not a filter, but the photo
Cutout.
moment, the cutout
Mhm.
moment
A
with the
frame, you can
balloon,
call it a frame.
the
Yeah.
frame, to speak a little bit to Bob's concern, that gets us a lot closer to Park and Vernon, because that would need to be where the balloons are. So all good points, and it's just exciting to see this actually moving ahead and potentially coming to fruition in the next few weeks. The nice thing about our June meeting is it's actually on June 1st. Meaning our GCIC meeting. So we're as well positioned to move things along as we can be. And so we will make that, obviously a focus of our discussions next month. But with that said, we still need to have John speak about the speaker series and then get on to the 4th of July and other events before 6:30. So John, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Hillary. So as I previewed a little bit on our last couple of meetings, we have been brainstorming ideas for a speaker that would be part of the speaker series that we've discussed in the past. And where we've sort of landed in terms of the type of speaker is a refugee that came to a community in around Chicago and has kind of a personal or compelling story that they could share with the community, with the hope that that individual would tie their personal story to some of our objectives, such as the importance of an inclusive community, and hopefully be able to tell that story in a way that's positive and talks to a good experience that they've had with a welcoming community on the North Shore or somewhere around Chicago that either that individual can tie to some of our our goals and objectives, or we as the council can tie to what we're trying to accomplish. We haven't landed on a specific speaker. I've done some research into organizations. Amy has done some research. Hillary's done some research into organizations that would probably have an individual or group of individuals that would kind of fit the bill. But we wanted to first, before we get too far into it, float it to the larger group and get your reactions to see if you think it's a good idea, bad idea, et cetera. In terms of timing, just one last thing is we're thinking that the soonest we could probably do it is the fall, middle to late fall, given all the other things we've got going on and busy schedules in the summer. So we've got some time to kind of land on a specific person, but before we dug into it in earnest, we wanted to get the group's feedback.
I think if you're able to find a person like that, it'd be a wonderful insight to their perspective in the eyes of a refugee and how the transition to wherever they came from to this community or any community, how impactful it was, how difficult it was. I think that would be a phenomenal way to bring a perspective that I don't think is expressed too often.
Yeah, and thanks, Raphael. One of the things we'd kicked around is it probably, in our opinion, is important to have someone who maybe has experience, doing these sort of speaking engagements, if at all possible, just so they can, if we're going to put this individual sort of in front of an audience for an hour or more, that they are able to, tell the story in a way that is engaging. So ideally, we like to find somebody who has lived it, obviously, but also has has told the story previously in other settings. That's more of a desire, not necessarily, I guess, a requirement. And Hillary had also suggested it would be ideal if the person was from Glencoe. That may or may not be feasible. We don't know yet, but
I think it's a great idea. If you struggle to find someone that sort of fits all those bills, maybe you can do kind of like a 1-2 combination, someone who works with people who are newly immigrated and sort of from their professional perspective and some of the challenges, and then also have someone who that they've maybe worked with, that they have a relationship with, that they can present together.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe they're giving sort of like a more global perspective from what that person who specializes in working with that community sees as problematic, helpful, like some of their experiences, and then somebody who's had the experience talk, and that also might just be a bridge for it, just making it be like a more comfortable experience for the person who's making themselves vulnerable to the experience. But I guess that would only be necessary if you can't find someone who has a lot of experience, speaking on their own behalf and feeling comfortable.
Mm-hmm. No, that's helpful. I think in the research I've done, the directors of these organizations that help refugees or in and around Chicago, I think most of them were themselves refugees. So we may be able to get someone who can do both. We'll see. But short of that, Anise, I think that's a great idea to have two folks that can help each other and do the presentation together. Okay, and I think the only just other last detail that we considered was once we've, assuming everyone gives us the okay to move forward on this is once we land on a speaker or group of speakers for consideration is potentially asking the library if they want to co-sponsor the event. Because I know they've done speaker series in the past, and may have an interest in doing some sort of co-sponsorship that may generate more attendance.
Yeah.
So
And I think the Glencoe Sustainability Task Force has done that with some success in the past. I know when I get the library newsletter, sometimes it's like, and this event is co-branded with the Sustainability Task Force. So I think there's absolutely precedent for that. So could be really good. Thank you for putting so much time into this, John.
sure, no problem. And if folks have thoughts or additional feedback that they want to share, I welcome it, or we welcome it.
I just had a quick thought, John. And I was sort of doing research at the same time you were talking, but the township and the woman who I've worked with before, who's in charge of their social services, may be able to direct you towards a family in the area that is recently immigrated. And then, as you mentioned, there's a couple of organizations that the Volunteer Center works with, Refugee One, and there's another one that we work with that helps new residents of our community from other countries.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good resources.
Thank you, Margot. I appreciate that.
Can I throw in something before the meeting ends? I would like us to think about over the next weeks, our response to what appears to be a likely decision by the United States Supreme Court on Roe versus Wade. This is a major attack on the civil liberties of women. Last time I looked, there are a few women in Glencoe. This may well lay the groundwork. For instance, we talk about recognizing gay pride, of the Supreme Court siding with states that have passed or will pass legislation that will prevent, for instance, the medical transitioning of boys and girls, perhaps the banning of gay adoptions, both because, as in this case, it's not mentioned in the Constitution. I think this goes to the heart of what this council is about. And I don't see any way that we can ignore it. And I would urge the members to think about an appropriate response. I mean, this reminds me of decisions that the Supreme Court has made over the centuries targeting Blacks. It is absolutely unacceptable to me. I think it's clearly covered by the 14th Amendment, and I believe we should have a response.
If I may, I'd like to jump in on that, and perhaps we can follow up. Your point is well taken. There are some limitations that we have as a unit of government in what we comment on. And so I would like to flesh that out a little bit more with the village attorney if there is shared interest among the group in doing so, to understand what our parameters are. Because at first blush, it feels that such a statement, while certainly heartfelt, may cross into or has the potential to, if not done correctly, cross into an area that we shouldn't be in. And so I'd like to follow up with that, but I need to phone a friend.
No, I think that's a perfectly appropriate response by the village, but I don't see what's happening as any different than, for instance, the response of the village to the anti-Semitic literature that was distributed. These are gross acts of discrimination and cannot be ignored.
I think you're right to. Go
I
ahead, Amy.
support that. No, I was just gonna say, I support Bob's thought and would hope that we flush it out to make sure we can do something, but then I should be thinking about what that is, what will be effective in that. But I'd like to have a point of view on that. A joint point of view. I have a point of view, but
And perhaps sorry, I think both Hillary and John were gonna
Nope.
chime
Go.
in, so I apologize.
Yeah, I think we definitely need, it's something we should think about. Because, perhaps that I've been taking a poll, but, the community may have varying views on these sort of issues. And if our goals are inclusion and community, I think we gotta be careful not to alienate folks, who may have different views on these legal questions. We just gotta think about it, I think.
Well, I assure you as a Jew that there are people in the village who have different views on anti-Semitism. I assure you that.
Well, I was talking, I'm sorry, Bob, I was referring to the Supreme Court precedent. that you
I
were talking
agree, but
about. Yeah,
this deals with discrimination, and this is a gross act of discrimination against women.
I'm going to sound like the mainstream media here when I say it's just a draft. No, I know that where there's smoke, there's fire, but nothing has been decided officially yet. I'm well aware of the implications for other protected classes. So beyond what I might feel as a woman around that piece, which is sort of like, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, there are considerable repercussions for many of the groups, just to your point, that we're working very hard to make feel included in our community. So I think we're very smart to keep an eye on it and to ask Sharon to sort of do her diligence on the village's side as far as what is permitted, appropriate, etc. And then we can come back to it. But I appreciate you saying it.
And but isn't our timing pretty short too, though? I mean, I think that my limited knowledge is that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, that decision will probably be conveyed. So to know where we'd want to go, it's not too much ahead, right, of us. So, yeah.
I think all the opinions have to issue by the end of June. So, yeah.
June.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Lastly, well, we didn't officially ever discuss the logo design, but Amy, do you feel as though we covered Vivek is out tonight? He's celebrating his birthday in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice.
So happy birthday, Vivek. We missed you, but we're glad you're in Vegas with your family celebrating. I won't say what number, but Amy, if you have anything you wanna, I just wanna make sure we don't like totally scuttle the logo piece, even though we've gotten to it in different ways.
We have, so thank you. I think all I would say, just given, I'm not sure if everybody was in the last discussion, just very simply, our goals are to come up with something that is easy to replicate in small sizes, because we'd want to use it in many different ways and places, not just a big banner, but other things. We wanted to capture the spirit of what we're looking for and the mission of what we're working on, and simple. So, we will do some brainstorming very soon and be back to the group probably ahead of the June meeting, so that we don't have to use all the airtime to debate that, and get people's reaction so we can move ahead. And I think we'll have 2 or 3 versions at least too. So I'm Sharon, if you want to say more, please do.
Nope, you summed it up perfectly. Just that subcommittee will be meeting with Sammy next week. Emily, I wasn't sure from your email, did you want to join that meeting, or did you have a conflict?
Hillary, if you can go, I don't think I'm going to be able to.
Okay.
I can go, but I can also be on standby. So if you discover, and Emily, you have my cell phone, if you discover at 2:00 on Monday that you're like, actually, I think I can make this meeting at 3:00, just text me. And it's just a question of the number of people we're allowed to have in the room.
Right.
Correct.
So I'm happy to go as your proxy, but if you have the opportunity to go and it works out, that makes more sense.
Thank you. If
you are in charge of comms, Emily. So we want to make sure that you're there.
Thank you.
Finally, I'm at risk of violating my own rules around timing, but we haven't touched on the 4th of July, which we do need to touch on very briefly. The 4th of July is more or less a set program for the village. You guys are likely all familiar. There's games and things uptown. There's a parade, and then on the 3rd of July, there are fireworks. But we, of course, have the opportunity to march in the parade, which I think we should do. And I think we should, whoever is available, hopefully many of you and your kids and your dogs and whomever else can wear your GCIC brand newly minted logo shirts and mostly just, you know, trump up support shamelessly for our cause. If we have bracelets still from Pride Month, we can toss those out in the crowd, whatever we want to do. But mostly just putting y'all on notice that we're gonna make a move in the parade, and we would love someone in this group to sort of herd the cats if they'd be willing. But if not, Raphael will do it. He told me. And then we'll also have a table, which I think this does merit a little bit more discussion. Is there anyone in this group who would be interested in sort of spearheading this, again, back to my moment, the table moment in town during the kids' games? In the past, I used the example of the Methodists always would pass out water. I don't know if they still do that, but you know, it could be something simple like that, or it could be something we, as always, can have our inclusion pledge. We can have any number of things available, but it would be nice if there were a little bit more punch than just whatever we're going to be doing at the farmers market this summer. Is there anyone in this group who would be able and willing to be if not in charge of manning the table that day, which I'm happy to do, conceptualizing the table and sort of driving it forward? No takers on the table. Okay. Raphael and Hillary, we'll put our heads together on the parade and the table and come back to you in July. But please, 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 if you're going to be in town, plan to, you know, work a shift, walk in the parade, wear your t-shirt, etc. That would be really, really great. Anise, yeah.
I just had a question. Can you just say a little more about
you're volunteering to do the table?
Can you just say a little more about like what happens at this table? Like what's the table? Like what?
It'd be like a dunk Phil Corrali kind of thing.
No dunk tank this year.
Come on.
No dunk tank this year, my friends.
Come on.
It's going to be, Anise, to answer your question, it's going to be at the table's going to be amongst the games. There's going to be food trucks, if I recall correctly what I was told.
In the evening, well, there's going to be food trucks.
Fireworks.
I think I'm a little out over my skis. The park district actually coordinates all of the 4th of July, most of the 4th of July activities, except for the parade. I think they're doing food trucks for their party in the park, which is going to be with the fireworks as usual, but that'll be July 3rd. The kids' games are in the morning. I don't think they're having food trucks, but I'm not certain. So I don't want to give you incorrect information. We can follow up on that.
So to answer your question, is that's the point of the subcommittee, is to figure out what we want to do with this table, how we want to present it, what's the message we want to convey. All the things that you're asking right now is exactly what we need to determine to be done on that day, whether it be passing out red, white, and blue cupcakes or bracelets with our symbol, or whether it be debate Hillary on a topic. I don't know, whatever.
All the topics.
Whatever's there.
Very quick on my feet.
Whatever's there for that day. I mean, if you guys want to rent a dunk tank, I volunteer for the first hour. There we go. Yeah, we'll have a dunk tank I
will donate the dunk tank
to promote inclusiveness in Glencoe. A dunk tank, nothing says you're included more than a dunk tank, but I'm not going to be the only one. But anyway,
I'll do it too. This is so fun.
But the point is to like let our organization be known. If it's amongst a bunch of kids games, maybe something along the line to coordinate with the park district, so that way we're also active with the kids. But what's the point of the table? We have no idea yet.
Okay, well, I'm happy to help you brainstorm. My hesitancy to committing to that day is it's my 25-year anniversary the next day, and I don't know for sure what's going to be happening that weekend. So I'm happy to help brainstorm, but I can't like pinky promise that I will actually be able to physically sit at the table, but I did find an amazing place that makes mini donuts, and we could make them in any colors we want. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, fun.
You had
Different.
me at donuts. So it would be great, Anise, if we could have you in the mix to just literally, we just need to come up with a better idea. Like Emily was able to come up with that wonderful frame. That this is not my forte. I organize
I'll
people.
help
That's
you.
it.
I'll help
Okay, I
I'll-
can be there to hand out the donuts on the July 4th.
Right.
So
I'll help.
In the past, when we've had tables at children's events, we've had little crafty, stickery type things for the young children to make. And the reason I'm suggesting something like that is while the child is working on the project, the adults have a chance to talk to the parents about what the committee is and what we do. It keeps them there longer than wandering off with a donut. So,
or
Good
both.
thought.
or both, yeah. The donut gets them to the table, the craft project keeps them there.
Excellent. Yeah, good.
Point well
Great.
made, Margot. Thank you. Okay, anything else for the good of the cause? Have we received any public comments during the course of the meeting, Sharon?
None by email. I do see one hand raised. If you would like to take that comment.
Yes, we will take it.
Okay. Miles, I unmuted you.
Yep.
Oh,
Hi,
there you are.
everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you for your service. Just wanted to make a comment. I heard the suggestion of making a resolution related to the Roe v. Wade leak. I'm actually here with my Mexican family, or it's not a resolution, a statement from the committee. I'm here with my Mexican family, and they would be deeply offended by such a suggestion. I recognize that the committee doesn't have actually a lot of diversity on it. It's mostly people of a more progressive viewpoint. And I know your intentions are very good. I really do. I think that you intend to make people feel welcome. And the intention behind such a statement is to make sure people feel comforted. But I do think it's important for you to recognize that in doing so, the other side would that there be a tremendous amount of people who would feel very unwelcomed for their religious beliefs or perhaps their political beliefs. My goal is really to try to repair America, starting in our own backyard. I think picking and choosing battles is really important and trying to find the places where there's unity and where you can bring people together. And yes, the more people that feel at home and welcome, the better, of all stripes. But I think it's just important to kind of make that comment. Again, my intention is not to hurt anybody's feelings or political beliefs. It really is to just make sure that it's known that there is another population in Glencoe that doesn't think along the lines of the suggestions of the committee. And I hope that you consider their viewpoints in all of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Miles. I think your point is well made. To be clear, that was the view of one member, and we'll take what you said under consideration. I think Sharon is going back to the village to see what is even possible, if desirable, and none of us have said anything is desirable at this point. So thank you for your time.
I don't see any other public comments. That's, I think, the end, Hillary.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
There we are.
I think the next thing I need to say is there any other business that a member of the forum would like to raise?
Yes.
Thank you, Ralph.
Do we confirm the next meeting time, date and time, if it's in person, or we still don't know?
Next meeting date will be June 1st, 5:30 TBD on whether we would be remote or in person. The governor's authority was extended until May 29th. So we're always right on that cusp. Some of the rumblings that we've heard is that it may continue to get extended on a month-to-month basis. So we'll keep you up to speed.
Great. Then may I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. May I please have a roll call vote?
1 second. Let me toggle over. Co-chair Guzman,
Yes.
Co-chair Scott,
Yes.
member Bjork,
Yes.
member Evans,
Yes.
member Flanagan,
Yes.
member Moses,
Yes.
member Mizell,
Yes.
member Rubin,
Yes.
member Young.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. We are adjourned. Have a wonderful evening. Go soak up this last bit of sunshine.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Bye,
all.
guys. Thank you.